The most awaited new iPhone 14 is finally here, which means it's time to see how the iPhone 14 Pro Max stacks up against the best of Samsung, the Galaxy S22 Ultra. As much as Samsung destroys the non-Pro iPhone 14 with its folding flip phone, as usual, we'll start with pricing first, and well, this is crazy. Apple is the one that's actually giving you more value with a starting price of $1,099 for the iPhone 14 Pro Max, while the S22 Ultra is still costing $1,199 while being 7 months old. If we take a look at the design, yes, the iPhone 14 Pro Max display is coming with near 2000 nits brightness compared to the 1750 nits peak brightness of the Galaxy S22 Ultra. Both displays have adapted refresh rate, which can drop from 120 Hz to 1 Hz with super power efficiency. This is actually the first time we're seeing Samsung giving their absolute best to Apple. The iPhone 14 Pro Max has a pill hole or the dynamic island, which is liked by many users as per the usability. But with that being said, as we know Apple, whenever they implement something they do it different from anyone else, including Samsung. The iPhone 14 Pro Max brings the world's first functional pill hole that has so many functions and software user interface enhancements with the all-new dynamic island. This means that this pill hole can change into different shapes and sizes for things such as incoming phone calls, Face ID, authentication timers, turn-by-turn navigation, and much more. And I actually find this super cool once again. It may not be the S22 Ultra aesthetics, but it's going to have a ton of function to it, and I'm already seeing a lot of people actually loving this implementation. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe. Now, the pill obviously brings the 3D Face ID, which is still Apple's main form of authentication, while the Galaxy S22 Ultra has an under-display fingerprint scanner. As for the back, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is retaining pretty much the same look as the iPhone 13 Pro series, except there's a new purple color. In my opinion, both phones have probably one of the best feel as well as look on the market when it comes to the back design. Let's talk about cameras, because this is where Apple has the biggest change in my opinion. We've got the new 48 megapixel camera that is taking on the 108 megapixel sensor of the S22 Ultra. According to Apple, this new sensor brings 2 times better low light performance compared to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, which already gives the S22 Ultra a tough challenge when it comes to the low light performance, especially in video. The main sensor on the S22 Ultra is pretty good, but it is actually the same sensor as we see on the S21 Ultra from last year, so it's not entirely a fair comparison. Still, when it comes to general photos, it's a pretty good reliable sensor. The video in low light, however, is in my opinion the biggest weakness. Now, it is very interesting how both companies are handling higher megapixels. Both sensors give you 12 megapixel shots by default, but Apple actually allows you to take raw photos at 48 megapixel resolution, while Samsung only lets you use it in auto mode. Now, Samsung still got that edge of iPhone 14 Pro Max when it comes to long-range zoom, because Apple is still keeping the zoom at 3x level. Whereas you can do 10x optical zoom on the S22 Ultra and even take pretty good photos at up to 30x level. Or if you want to go all the way, you can go up to 100 times. Now, the iPhone 14 Pro claps back at S22 Ultra when it comes to the portrait video mode performance. Or you can say cinematic video, because it can now shoot these videos at 4K HDR for the first time on any phone. While Samsung, who introduced this on their phone since so long, it's still capped. It also adds a new front camera sensor that has 2x better low light performance. So we'll see how it's going to compete against the front camera sensor on the S22 Ultra, which in my opinion is probably one of the best on any phones out there right now. As for the ultra-wide camera, both lenses are coming at f2.2 aperture, and they can both double as macro lenses. Apple also added ultra stabilization mode, which we had on the S22 Ultra for quite some time. Overall, both phones comes with incredible camera hardware, but Apple, the areas where they were already pretty strong, especially in the video. Now, camera performance depends a lot on the actual processor, and this is where the iPhone 14 Pro Max just extends the differences even more. The Apple A16 Bionic chip is once again the world's best smartphone chip that extends the already best A15 chip's performance even further to a level where Samsung can't even touch. The S22 Ultra is the only $1,000+ phone that is coming with outdated chip that no other Android manufacturer, including Samsung themselves, using on their latest devices. We're getting Exynos 2200 for UK and Europe and Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 for rest of the regions, which is now being replaced by the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 that we see on the folding devices and other Android phones. The A16 uses 30% less power compared to the Apple A15 chip from last year, while increasing 10 to 15% in overall CPU and GPU performance. Once again, this is the price you pay for being 7 months old in this tech game. Another area where the iPhone 14 Pro Max is going to surpass every single phone on the market is the battery performance. The S22 Ultra gets beaten by the iPhone 13 Pro Max pretty easily, so the 14 Pro Max is only going to extend that lead even further as it adds nearly 1 to 2 hours of extra usage with even more efficient chip display and a bigger battery. Now software-wise, we have Android 13 on the S22 Ultra and iOS 16 on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. As Apple adds unique customization of lock screen and finally adding always-on mode, Samsung comes back with this real multitasking features and broader customization. One thing that is core to both operating system is animations, and even after 7 months, Samsung has still not done complete justice to it until we see the official Android 13 version. So hopefully we're going to get the best performance. While Apple is the king of smoothness, this is one area where Samsung really needs to improve overall. But low-light video is going to get even tougher to compete with, considering the old chip that we have on the S22 Ultra, the 4K cinematic mode on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And to top it all off, Apple actually undercuts Samsung in value with $100 cheaper price for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. I wish Samsung had great performance and battery life of Fold 4 and S22 Ultra, but yeah, that's not possible. The Galaxy S23 Ultra will definitely be the real challenge to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which honestly has stunned the competition. So here it is, iPhone 14 Pro Max is the ultimate winner, ripping apart the competition. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. If you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe for full coverage of the iPhone 14 series. With that being said, I'll see you guys later.